Hi guys. I decided to put together some videos for this polynomial notes. Okay, and today is going to be a lot of vocab, but I just wanted to make sure that you had something that you could go watch and replay if you need and all that. So here's the deal. These polynomials, okay, they're fancy math words, and the good news is we've learned already a little bit about them. Okay, we've been working with specific. Sorry about that. We've been working with specific polynomials for the last month and a half about quadratics that look like this. Okay. Polynomials are just a list of items. Okay. Now, fancy math words, it's a list of terms. Okay. Terms are these individual pieces. Okay. This is a term, this is a term, and that's a term. Okay. Polynomials are made up of numbers, letters, and exponents. Okay. So if I go through that, if I give it like a math example, 3x squared plus 4x plus 5, that's a polynomial, which is technically called a quadratic, but that's because the exponent. Okay. And all polynomials, whether it's a list of 3 things, a list of 10 things, whatever, they all have to follow these same 3 rules. Okay. Expressions, meaning there's no equal signs. Expressions cannot be a variable on the bottom. So you can't have something that looks like this. You can't have a letter on the bottom of a fraction. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2 is that it has whole numbers for exponents only. So you can have x squared plus 1/2 x cubed, whatever. But you cannot have 4x to the 1/2. You cannot have that because it has a fraction in the exponent. Okay. And rule number 3 is that your list can't go on and on. If you went to think about it like a grocery list. Your grocery list has 100 items maybe, but it has to stop there. You can't spend an infinite amount of time in the grocery store. Your list could have 500 things or 3 things or 2 things, but it can't go on and on and on and on and on. It has to stop at the number of terms you have. Okay. So 3 basic rules. So let's take a look at some examples versus non-examples. Examples that work, I'll circle in green. Okay. If we take a look, good example, good example, mm, uh, good example, good example, good example, good example. Now, uh, the reason those work is it follows those 3 rules. The ones that don't work, this one it might be hard to see, but it's 3 to the x. The x can't be in it can't be in the exponent, nor can it be in the bottom of a fraction. So those 2 are out. This one's out because the decimal exponent. This one's out because if I rewrote the square root of x, that's the same as a fraction in the exponent of 1/2. So that's out. And then we have those absolute value symbols, so those are out too. Okay. So examples versus non-examples. Okay. Some vocab you're going to hear me talk about a lot in class. Okay. The degree and the leading coefficient. Very, very simple, but you just got to be able to see them. The degree is the highest exponent. So as you look at your list, you're just looking for the highest exponent. Now this left example is easier because it's in standard form. So like high to low already. We can look at this left example and say the degree is equal to 3 because it's the highest exponent. Now, the leading coefficient, I'm just going to rewrite that. The degree is 3. The leading coefficient is the number that's in front of our highest exponent. So the leading coefficient for this first example is 5. Now, it happened to be the very first number in our list because it was in standard form. The reason why the right-hand side is trickier is that it's not in standard form. So some people might say, hey, the leading coefficient is 7. That's not true. Just because it's the first in our list doesn't mean that that's the correct answer. Our highest exponent is 5, so the degree is 5. That means the leading coefficient is the number right in front of it, which is a 1 in front of that x to the 5th. Okay? That's why standard form is so important. It helps. Okay? All right, so next one. Let me just scroll down a little bit. Now, you are not responsible for this table at all. I do not expect you to know these math vocab words. You will hear me say them in class. Like I know, for example, something to the 3rd power is called cubic. You might hear me say that, but for what you'll talk about is you'll say it's a 3rd degree polynomial. Technically speaking, the math vocab for 5, for example, is quintic, but you can say 5th degree. Okay, so this video is going to end. I'm going to show part 2 in 1 second.